You're very welcome back. Now, during the 60s and 70s, the Miami show band were one of the biggest names on the Irish music scene, racking up hit singles and packing out venues both north and south of the border. They were known as the Irish Beatles.
In 1975, tragedy struck when they were caught up in one of the most infamous episodes of the Troubles, as 3 of the band were killed by a bomb planted by loyalist paramilitaries.
Now a musical commemorates their brilliant career and personal tragedies. Des Lee, one of the band members who survived that fateful night, joins us now. Good morning to you, Des.
Good morning.
Hi, Des.
And thank you for coming in to us. Before we get to that tragedy, and it's important to talk about it, can we paint a picture for anyone, because this is before either of us were born, but show bands were gigantic. The country was thriving. You guys were thriving. You were on top of the world. I mean, you were playing Carnegie Hall. You were playing in Vegas.
That's right. We toured all over America. We did all basically every state in America. We did, as you say, Las Vegas, and we did. It was an honour to have played in Carnegie Hall, 1972, St. Patrick's Day. You know, to have played in Carnegie Hall is absolutely amazing.
So iconic.
Yeah.
And during the break, you were telling us at one stage, and this was very typical, the Arcadia in Bray, you had 2,000 people inside and another 2,000 outside trying to get in. That's
right. Screaming. It was wonderful.
So you guys were one of the biggest names in Irish music and entertainment at the time. What kind of a lifestyle were you guys living at the time?
Oh, it was an unbelievable lifestyle. You know, the funny thing is, when we were kids then, it was 18 years of age, the last thing we thought about was money.
Really?
It was all the fame, the stardom, the girls screaming,
the celebrity,
you know, pulling you off the stage. All that sort of stuff cared more than the money did. Yeah. It's only as you get older and, you know, you got married and you had kids, you realised how important money was. But in those days, in our young days in the Miami, it was all about fame. And boy, did we have it.
Yeah. You were, given the profile that you guys had, when tragedy did strike in 1975, it was remarkable. I mean, it really was. It was a massive story in the midst of the Troubles, wasn't it?
It was, of course. Look, we were a band that at that stage, during, I would call it, Northern Ireland's terrible time, terrible troubles. We were a band that went regardless of where, when, colour or creed of the client. That didn't matter. We were there to go out and give people 2 hours of fun and excitement to get them away from the madness at the time. So, as I say, we played to people of all colour, all creed. And the night we played in Banbridge, you know, it was just seemed to us to be just another one of those nights.
And when you were in the van on the way home from Banbridge, you would have expected a check. A border check was normal.
Yes, a normal check. You know, look, we were used to checks basically every night of the week. We'd be stopped at what we would call a roadblock. And that would be normally, say, the RUC at the time, or the British Army, or the UDR. And we would be stopped. We would ask to get out of the van sometimes. Sometimes we wouldn't be asked to get out of the van. On the particular night of the massacre, we were actually asked to get out of the van.
Okay.
And we were asked to face the ditch, which we did. And what actually happened was they asked, which is normal procedure, your name, date of birth, where you're from, where you're coming from, what venue are you playing in, all the usual questions, not knowing that what was actually happening was that these people who we thought were UDR, UVF, RUC and British Army were just doing their normal things, but we were unaware that what they were actually doing was planting a 10-pound bomb in the van. And the idea would be that we would drive down towards Dublin, the bomb would explode, and the Miami would have been accused of carrying weapons. Now, what actually happened to me, and one of the reasons why I'm here talking to you today, my saxophone saved my life.
Your saxophone?
My saxophone actually saved my life.
Because you got out to get it.
I actually, what I was doing, I was in the line. If you can imagine a line of 5 people, and I was to the left, standing to, excuse me, standing next to a person that I heard a very, very distinctive, posh English accent, who I believe to this day was Captain Narek. Now, what actually happened was I asked them, could I go to the van and take my saxophone out of the van, put it on the road, open it up, show them it was a saxophone, which I did. Went to the van, took it out, put it on the road, opened it up, and instead of going back to where I was in the line, which was to the left, I stood next to the minibus. And that actually saved my life, because what happened was they were putting the bomb in the van, the bomb exploded prematurely, blew me over the ditch into the field below. Had I had gone back to where I was in the line, I wouldn't be here today. So that's why I say my saxophone saved my life. And actually, I'm writing my book at the moment. Stephen has written the Miami Massacre book, but my book is totally different. And my book is actually called My Saxophone Saved My Life.
And at what point, Des, can I ask you, I mean, it's a horrific ordeal to have gone through, such a tragedy. At what point did you realise during the course of those events that something really bad is about to happen here?
Well, what actually happened when the bomb went off and blew me over onto the field below, I remember watching the GI war movies when I was a kid, and where the GIs would lie face down in the grass and pretend they were dead. And that's exactly what I did. But I could hear all the screaming, the crying, the shouting, the gunfire, the pandemonium that was going on all around me. And I realised, I actually at one stage thought we were being attacked. And then I realised when I heard some of the language from, which I couldn't repeat, some of the language was appalling. And I realised that we were actually been attacked. And then I realised I was going to have to lie face down in the grass and hold my breath for as long as I could. And I could hear all the commotion going all around me, and I was praying to God that they wouldn't come back. Because I heard them saying, are you sure all those bastards are dead? And when I heard that, that scared the living daylights out of me. I was expecting to hear more gunfire, but thank God I didn't. And I waited until I heard the commotion dying down, and I heard running. There was obviously the gang running across the field. And I realised that what happened was when the van set the ditch on fire, excuse me, that the flames from the ditch were coming close to my body. And I realised that if I didn't make a run for it, I would have been burnt alive. So I called out to Stephen Travers, and Stephen was muttering. And I called out Fran, Brian and Tony, and I got no response. So I made a run up the ditch onto the main road. I tried to flag a lorry down. And the lorry driver, obviously, when he saw everything that was on the road, it must have been horrendous what he's seen. He refused to let me into the lorry because he probably thought I was part of what had happened. And I even pleaded with them, can I get on the back of your lorry? He wouldn't even let me in the back of the lorry.
Such an appalling experience to go through.
Yeah.
And, we know that there are a number of you still alive, you're still in touch, you're still gigging, you're still making music. And then there is the musical, which we want to get to as well. Tell us a bit about this.
The musical is absolutely amazing. You know, I have been to see it now about 6 times, and I'll go another 26 times to see it because it's just amazing. Not because a lot of the musical is actually based on me.
Right.
See, I'm from a wee place in Belfast called Andy Town, better known affectionately as Andersonstown. Now, I grew up there as a kid. And, you know, I used to go past the Opera House in Belfast and see Tom Jones, Cliff Richard, the Beach Boys, all these names up in big lights, not knowing that one day my name was going to be up there. You know, and what actually happened was Martin Lynch, who actually wrote the play with Mary Jones. Now, Mary's well known for Stones in My Pockets and the George Best story. And a friend of mine who's a DJ in Belfast approached me and said, why don't you get somebody like Martin Lynch to look at doing a play about the Miami? So we had a chat, and it came up that Martin was interested in doing it. Martin then sat down with me for several months, running over the whole idea. Obviously, one of the things we had to be careful was the massacre. I didn't want the massacre to be glorified in any way. So it's done now in such a way, it's incredibly well done. Now, everywhere the play has gone, all over Ireland, every night of the week, they're getting standing ovations. The people are up clapping their hands to Simple Simon Says Dickie Rock, The Candy Store, Dickie Rock, Fran O'Toole, Clap Your Hands, Stomp Your Feet, Love Is Fran O'Toole.
Because it's
just
all
madness.
based on not just the story and the tragedy, but it's also based on the time. It's based on you guys
Memory
and the lives
lane,
you were
isn't
living.
it?
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. It sounds incredible. We saw a little bit of it there. It looks absolutely amazing. And we wish you every success with it, Des. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much
Cheers.
indeed. Thanks.
It looks
Thank you,
fantastic.
Des.
Cheers.
Thank
You can get your tickets actually for the Miami Showband story at ticketmaster.ie or at the Gaiety Theatre box office.